My name's Steve Simpson. I'm an illustrator. I've been working in the industry for over 20 years. As a designer, probably a bit longer. When I was at school, I had an uncle who was a cartoonist, a comic artist for the Beano and the Dandy. And so growing up, that's really what I wanted to do. But somehow I ended up doing technical illustration in college, but it kind of led on to other things. I ended up in animation in Manchester, working on TV shows such as Danger Mouse and Duckula back in the mid-80s. And I kind of worked through there for maybe 6 or 7 years and ended up in Ireland, and I kind of needed a change. And illustration seemed to be the way to go. Gonna put it to the test. You wanted it to. I guess what inspires me is really everything you see around you, everything you hear, everything you look at. Most illustrations you create are based on a brief that comes from a client, and as such it has to have roots in some message. So, you know, fundamental to the illustration working there, the message has to be behind it. I guess it really depends on what that message is. So all sorts of things can spark off ideas. I get inspired a lot by folk art. So looking back at something that's been created hundreds of years ago really has a lot of relevance, I think, in my work these days. But then equally something that's been created yesterday by other illustrators can spark another idea as well. So it's varied from all over the place. One of the most successful ones in the awards would have been the Fate Street menu cover, which was created for Dylan McGrath's new restaurant that opened up 12 months ago now. The basic brief was to create a very busy menu cover for the downstairs restaurant, and it's just full of a lot of action, which was a great project. I think mostly because I was given so much freedom to do pretty much whatever I wanted. Things have moved on in the past 30 years so much. I probably entered illustration at just the right time. Things were changing. Any illustrations I could have done previous to sort of 1990 would have probably been analog, sort of traditional media. Anything that was created after that pretty much was going towards the digital side of things. When I came in, I suppose I was very lucky to hit the ground when digital was new. I don't like to think of myself as a digital illustrator. I still create everything with a pencil. Everything's redrawn and redrawn and redrawn until I'm absolutely sure that it's perfect and it's exactly what I want to do. When the client signs off on the pencil, then I'll scan it into Photoshop and I'll start working on it. I'm bringing it through, but I really think of the digital process as just another tool. It's just like using a paintbrush. It's not creating anything on top that I wouldn't have already created. Standing out from the crowd is really the hard bit, especially when you're starting off. You really do need to get a hook. You need a hook that draws people in. There's little point copying other illustrators. There's no point being a second-rate version. You know, becoming an illustrator, you need a lot of tools. You need to have a lot of skills. And you know, the first few years when you start trying to make it as an illustrator in the market are really just a learning curve, and you've got to build up your drawing skills, your observation skills, your getting the message over skills, and I think it's one of those things that you really do need a brief. You can't really take that on without the problem. So if you just decide to draw something, you're only going to satisfy yourself. But if you're given a brief by a client, then there's a problem within that brief that you have to solve. And I think that it's the problem-solving process that is really quite difficult. And I think it's something you learn, it's something you pick up on. Try to get briefs that one, inspire you, but two are practical as well. So I always advise people who want to be illustrators to be designers as well. If you can be a designer and an illustrator, then you can be a little bit more in control of the work you get. If you're only an illustrator, you're reliant on designers to give you work. You know, as an illustrator designer, you can give yourself work. And I advise people maybe to go to their local farmer's market, find a local producer and approach them and offer to do them, you know, a deal on the packaging and work with them. I think, you know, it's going through the process with somebody who actually needs something is what's really going to teach you what it's all about. And it's a good place to start.